This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Big knocker, Bill Maurice, stepping on my touchdown call. I'm just giving him grief because he sent out a tweet 3 minutes ago with the headline, "On Deck for Barreiro." And it's, who's in the photo? It's Santana?
Yeah, Carlos Santana.
Carlos Santana, your guy in the on-deck circle. Only you. Now, when you send stuff like this out, not that there's anything technically wrong with it, but given the fact that you travel worldwide, you're on all these big boards, you're part of all these important committees. I mean, do you worry that if they see stuff like this, they go, this guy seems kind of like a goofball? Do you worry about that at all? I mean, it might affect your reputation?
That assumes my reputation would be negatively affected by something like that as opposed to positively. I don't know. I think people would not think it was really out of character.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, that's good. Then you're true to yourself.
I'm true to myself.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
So when you get into these big corporate things, you don't have to necessarily, you're not required to be stuffy and distant and so forth. There's no rule that says that's the way you have to be.
Yeah, it might be an unspoken rule, but this is unspoken. You don't abide by it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Even better. Well, thanks for coming. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
So there was some breaking family news lately. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about that?
So, yeah, my energy level's a little low compared to as my usual because my daughter got married on Saturday.
Nice.
In Camrose Hill. So I've actually been up in the cities for almost a full week. So, yeah, to a wonderful guy here from the Twin Cities, Chris Arneson, the Arneson family. So, so it was great. It was on Saturday. I came up, went to my barber's up here, the Barber Collective on Randolph Street, so I got my hair cut so I could look good. And then I had to pick up my parents, which is another story because, as you can tell, I'm pretty high energy, and I'm realizing with your parents in your 80s, you have to take that down significantly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but got through all of that. I realize now why it was so hard to find a scooter for him. My dad became kind of scooter addicted after he came here with me and had a scooter and realized how much fun that was. So, anyway, got through all that, and so here I am today.
So how much through that whole process, so many movies have been done on, the irrational way and emotional way that fathers giving away their daughters behave at times like these. There have been some great movies made on that in that area. Were you fairly even keel? Have you been crazed? How would you describe your approach through this entire process?
I think crazed has probably been about the baseline craze, so no more crazed than usual. Right. It's when your daughter's getting married and there's all that emotion, you kind of feel like you're around the powder keg and you don't want to be the spark. So I managed to avoid that. And then
no major brawls, no major things, relatively cool.
No major brawls, no major excuses to hide at the bar and just imbibe too much. So everything went smoothly, actually. And so I was struck. I was actually more emotional than I thought it would.
Good.
So, and you guys knowing me now for a while, I did want to make sure when I was there, like giving the speech, it's really want to make the focus was on my daughter, not on me or anybody else.
Yes,
it's her time, it's their time. So I think we managed to pull. Of course, I've met my daughter. She doesn't shy away from the spotlight, so I didn't have to try too hard. But no, everything went smoothly.
Honeymoon immediately, or are they waiting?
No, they're waiting.
Okay,
so,
all right.
I was hoping they would come out here to the fair.
That'd be nice. Yeah, been a nice, sort of show of loyalty to you and to the program. But they might have other things.
They got other priorities.
At this point.
How long was the speech? Did you clock it? Do you know how long you were up there?
Well, once I got to page 6, I figured it was getting a little long. So
kept turning it.
Exactly. No, it was under 5 minutes.
Oh wow. Okay.
Well, it's interesting the way you put it because you hit on maybe the key part of it. The number of people who in your position end up making the speech about themselves more than they do about the individuals you're supposed to be saluting.
We call that the Ken Patera, for those familiar with the show recently.
That's a very good point, yeah. Did you hear about the Ken Patera
No, I
interview?
don't know that one.
We had, what was the occasion? It was
the passing of Hulk Hogan.
That's right, the death of Hulk Hogan. Kenny Patera knew him well, wrestled with him, wrestled against him, and made sense to have him on. And Kenny, God bless him, he did have some good stories. He had a little problem understanding that he was on, FM radio, not on a podcast. So he had some problems there. And then he did also kind of do the Sid thing where more of the tributes were to him than to the person who'd passed away.
To the Hulkster.
Which was Sid, that was Sid vintage in print. It would end up being more about him than the person who just died. So,
yeah, it's a slippery slope. So I just avoided it altogether. So
yeah, that's probably smart. So I think we've talked about this before. You're not one of us.
Nope.
Yet I think, would you call yourself a committed State Fair participant, an okay, medium level participant, or bored with it, but you come here to help us out and do a couple of
No, I'm definitely committed. I mean, my oldest son's in the audience with his wife, and so we've been coming since he was a tyke. And so, I love the State Fair. I love coming out here. It's now it's a little different because I had to go to the Milk Barn first as opposed to get a key lime beer because I thought I better be safe.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No, I love being out here. It's great.
Yeah, so you've been, how many years have you been coming out then?
Oh, gosh. Ever since I've been here, so about 30 years.
So that long?
Yeah.
So how did you, this is it always interests me when you're not from here, like me, same way, and I know nothing about the State Fair, when I first get here, and I have to learn about it over a period of time, how you became aware of it, and if you were at first skeptical of people who said, no, man, this is different. There's something about this. This is unbelievable. It's tradition. People carry it on. They come here for 30. They bring their kids. Those kids bring their grandkids, the whole bit. How did you learn about it, and how skeptical and dubious were you that it was this cultural, event the way we now believe it is?
Well, I mean, so when I started at Mayo Medical School, it was 40 students, and half of them were from the state, right? So many of my good friends had grown up in the cities, and so they said, you've got to come up. We got to go up and go to the State Fair. And growing up in Indiana, we had the Indiana State Fair, which we're very proud of, and I thought Indiana's a very agricultural rural state. I thought it can't be better than that. So I came up, and so that's where it started. And it was like, wow, this is really different, and it is much different vibe than the Indiana State Fair. Indiana State Fair.
I don't even remember I don't think I ever attended it. Was that in Indy?
It was in Indy.
I went to county fairs.
It's not very Indiana, big, right? It's right off downtown.
Yeah, it's not nearly. At least when I lived there, it wasn't nearly as big as this.
Yeah,
and of course, being in Indiana, it's around a racetrack. The sprint car track is there, so you actually take a little tram around. So it doesn't have that same. I don't think it has the same attendance. It's smaller. And it has you travel by tram, so you don't get that same feeling of moving through the crowd.
Oh, I see.
So
that's
anyway, so that's how I started, and then shortly after that, started my family, and then I would always take a vacation day to come
really
here. Yes, because I didn't like when you have little kids in particular, it's nice to not have to deal with the crowds and stuff like that.
Makes sense.
Actually make a whole day of it.
A little more control. Now to more important questions. What are your sources telling you on Kaprizov? Your guy Kaprizov, is he going to sign here or not? Or is this going to be the disaster waiting to happen?
My spidey sense says that he will sign. I just really believe that he will. But I don't think they're going to make it easy. I think that they're not going to take a hometown discount.
No.
I think they're going to look for some commitments from the team. So, and it's a pivotal. Actually, I was thinking about that when I was getting my mail. It's a pivotal year for Guerin in a lot of ways because you have Kaprizov. And then you have all the, they didn't make a big signing.
No.
Which was smart because the free agent pool was very shallow. But now you got to look. You got Urov. You've got the gentleman they traded for from Columbus that, they gave a first rounder for. So they should have a really good blue line. Rossi is back. So can they actually develop talent? Wallstead, what's going to happen in goalie this year? Is, Dustin's going to be good or not? I think if Wallstead flames out, there are going to be questions about their ability to develop players.
Yeah.
They've had a lot of instability with their Iowa club and their coach. So I think it's a pivotal year either way. But, boy, things will really unravel. With Kaprizov.
I'm wondering if we should isolate that soundbite and play it back for Guerin when he joins us. What day is Billy out here?
He's on Friday at 3:15.
Just to get him going on that. Because I thought that was pretty good analysis. I can't argue with any of it. But Guerin might. He might say, you know what? Probably that's how you would start it.
Yep.
You know what?
Or he'd say he's right. Critics. The knocker's right. And we're ready for it. That's what I think he'll say.
Well, he does. He's been known to do it that way. Yeah. And then
I agree. And we'll be ready. And he's right.
They're going to sign him. I'm with you. I don't think there's any way on it. And they know it's not going to be a hometown discount. They know they have no choice but to get it done. I guess the X factor is just the agent's allegedly weird. And
really?
He's kind of a wild card guy. But even then, what does that really mean? I mean, ultimately, it's difficult for me to believe that the player is not going to take that kind of security. I mean, the interesting question on Kaprizov obviously is, are we now heading into a period where he's going to be injured a decent amount?
Yeah.
Was that an anomaly last year? Or that's my concern. But I don't think, again, I still don't think the team has a choice. They're going to have to break the bank.
I don't think they have a choice either. It is true though. Ever since he had that weird injury in Winnipeg, when that guy jumped on his back, never undisclosed, he's really struggled since then. It seems. So you have to hope, that it's a one-time thing that he's recovered from, but we don't know that. The other thing that's interesting, and I think it's very specific, it's for any player that chooses to stay here or not, but I think it's particularly true for the Wild, and now that we have Northern European and Russian players here, it's almost like an indictment. It's like, why wouldn't the Kaprizov want to stay here in the state of hockey? It resembles where he's from and his home. It almost feels personal if he doesn't want to stay here, right? But I don't know. We'll see.
Time will, as Double T Trent Tugger says, time will tell Davey. And Davey, of course, is David Sinekin, as you know. The big knocker, Bill Maurice, kind enough to join us on a beautiful Monday. We're going to get our first break in. We got a lot to discuss. I've got some medical stories I want to run by him, and we'll get to a couple of other things as well. Back with the big knocker in just a minute here on the Fan.
Come join us out at the 2025 Minnesota State Fair, live from Carousel Park, presented by Mesh Besher and Spence. We're broadcasting live through Labor Day. You can come buy your favorite fan merch, learn about your shot to be Mesh Besher and Spence Rube of the Day, and win Farm-Aid 40 tickets and $200 in concert cash. Full details now, KFAN.com/fair.
Frustrating.
Back with the knocker, Mayo Clinic big knocker, Bill Maurice, kind enough to stop by our location here at the Great Minnesota Get Together on a beautiful Monday afternoon. You tell me you didn't have any problems parking. I don't understand how that's possible. Do you have, let me guess, Mayo Clinic guy, he's got some big pass that most people don't even know exists. Is that what it is? Some special secret parking?
That's right. I sent out my minions to find my secret parking.
I had a hunch.
That's how it worked.
That might have been something.
No, it's actually kind of fun. It was just pretty light, and I did the typical neighborhood park, and then said, well, I got to get in to be on the radio.
Well, you're supposed to pay now. Did you have to pay?
I did pay.
Oh, you did pay. Okay.
Even though I said I did drop, I was going to be on.
Now, was it the kind of situation where you parked was in front of a house where they said, hey, we'll watch your car for you, and then you got to give them an extra $15 because otherwise the implication is they might let all the air out of the tires?
This was quite a professional. He actually had lines painted into his yard. So
seriously, well, he's used to this. This isn't his first rodeo.
Exactly. So I took the safety as implicit.
That's got to explain it. I've got to ask you about. Let me see if I can find it. I thought of you immediately, and did I save it? Oh yeah, here it is. And I mean, I bring this up at the risk of annoying you. Because it has to do with one of your medical rivals, the Cleveland Clinic, which, of course, you have told us before Mayo has no rivals. I understand that.
Yeah, I think I might have heard of it.
That's too good. That's too good. All right, here's the headline. London musician Alex Clark was shocked by a rare tumor diagnosis that threatened his vital organs and ability to play the guitar. A 3D printed model helped guide the complex surgery at Cleveland Clinic, London. Today, Alex is back on stage. So help me understand 3D printed models, because in this case, I guess when I read the story, it indicated it gave the physicians who operated on him and worked on this case, tried to deal with the tumor, a better idea. Like, here it is. This is the printed model of the tumor and the surrounding anatomy, that I assume then made it easier for them to know exactly where to go, whatever. What tell me about this 3D stuff. Are you guys well beyond that at Mayo?
No, I mean, we do this as well. It's one of the ways that AI and just computer technology has been transformational for healthcare, right? So when I was in medical school, now several decades ago, but one of the things that really impacted me was when I was being taught surgery, and the surgeon told me that we should think of surgery as partially controlled trauma, right? Because it's extraordinarily traumatic, right? And so you're just trying to do it under conditions that's purposeful.
Yep.
And you're trying to do it under conditions where where the risk is mitigated by the outcome you're trying to achieve. If it's in it, you just show me kind of the shoulder and what's called the thoracic outlet, which is where all the nerves and arteries pass through from your heart and from your spine into your arm. And so that's an area where the real estate's real expensive from a surgical perspective, right? So with 3D printing, what you can do is actually go in and map. They usually do some kind of advanced imaging like MRI, and they'll actually be able to map where they're going to be operating, and they can actually plan to rather than getting in there and like figuring it out or getting into a nerve, they can actually plan the surgical approach such that they mitigate any kind of risk or damage, right? So this is an area that's really evolved. The other story I thought you were going to ask me about was Cleveland Clinic was another really cool one, where it was a young boy with an osteosarcoma, where they did something similar, which is a bone cancer.
Okay.
And it was in his arm. And typically the way you have to treat that is by amputation, right? So it's when you know of a young person that had to have an amputation, from cancer, it's typically this type of bone cancer. And they actually were, since he was young enough, they were actually able to remove the bone and take the fibula out of his leg and put it in. And now he's grown into teenage years and he's got a functional limb. This is all through kind of 3D modeling of what they can do, right?
And so instead of having to amputate, he's still got an arm.
He still has his arm.
Remarkable.
So this stuff is really cool. There's a guy named Dr. Morris, who's a radiologist at Mayo, who does a lot of this kind of stuff as well. It's really impactful on facial surgeries too, where they can actually go in and think about and model what something should look like. So, I think they did a lot of that with the face transplant at Mayo. They did a whole. I think they basically can simulate the entire surgery because that was a 60-hour surgery. So 60 hours. So you have teams coming in,
right?
So it's remarkable.
That is remarkable. We've talked over the years about cancer treatments before, and how part of the challenge is obviously we want to think of it as one big monolith cancer, and it's not, right? There's a million different cancers, so there's no miracle one thing that's going to eradicate it, whatever. In the last couple years, in terms of your Mayo experience, the people you talked to there, what are the most significant advancements or departures, even in philosophy, when it comes to treatment? I mean, where are we in that area now compared to maybe a couple of years ago?
So, it's pretty remarkable. I mean, my job as a pathologist is to both diagnose cancer and then help understand how we should think about cancer. That's part of what I do, at least when I was practicing medicine a lot. And what's really changing is that, as I was taught, and as we think about cancer, we tend to think about, we label it by where it arises.
Right.
Breast cancer,
yes.
Brain cancer, it's lung cancer, right? Whereas now it turns out, yes, there's many different types of cancers, but there's really only so many ways that cells can kind of go haywire, right? Because cancer is essentially when a normal biological process gets hijacked in some way, shape, or form. The two things that we're seeing, number one, is that we'll start to think about cancers not by where they arise, but what happened within the cell to make it become
to
cancer.
Start that process.
And now you can have much more specific treatments that are actually targeted what's wrong and what went haywire in that individual cell, as opposed to just trying to treat it like almost like an antibiotic where you just kill it, right? So that makes it much more targeted. The other thing that we're really understanding also is how our immune system actually, because what we don't think about is actually these things are happening in our body all the time, but our immune system is actually watching out for these cells and destroying them, right? So now it turns out that part of the way cancer grows is by actually suppressing that immune response. So we're understanding ways you can actually activate your body to kill your cancer, which of course is the most specific way to do so.
When you say activate the body, give me some examples of how you would do that.
Well, so one way is that it turns out, without trying to get too nerdy, but
nerd away. That's okay. People
immune system cells, like as we've talked about during COVID, right?
Yeah.
Your immune system's always trying to strike this right balance between what's normal self and what's from the outside world or an abnormal self cell. It turns out they have kind of on-off switches is the easiest way to think about it, right? And what a cancer cell will do, they'll just produce a lot of these things, proteins that can turn on the off switch for an immune cell. So what we found is if you go in and actually block that, now the cells turn back on and they can attack the cancer. That's probably the simplest way to think about it. But there's other ways too that we think about harnessing this. The other is to actually grow cells, to take cells out of your body, to put something into those cells that allows them to kill the cancer cell and then put them back
in. So, and one of the things I sense that has also changed over the years is I feel like, well, look, to a certain extent, depending on the chemotherapy you're talking about, it can be very, very tough on the body and debilitating, etc. I'm not saying that no longer exists, but I feel like that's another area where the strides have been pretty dramatic in terms of attempting to come up with a mix of cocktails where perhaps it's not quite as debilitating than they were before. Are we making progress in that area where it's doing the work, but not necessarily doing the other damage that we associate with chemotherapy?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, yes and no. So on the yes side, yes, we have drugs that are much more specific to the cancer cells, like I just talked about. The flip side is, like for one of those therapies I discussed, it's called CAR T, when you take an immune system cell out, engineer it, and put it back in. Some of those patients get into these really bad kind of immune hyperactivation.
Okay.
So we're seeing different kinds of problems with different kinds of treatments. I think what's really where we stand at the threshold is the way that we kind of have targeted and thought about developing drugs for cancer in particular, but other things, is we know it's wrong, and there's just a lot of trial and error about what would work against that particular defect in a cell. Now what's happening is that would take years. Now we can, in a matter of weeks, screen 100. You can put it into a computer, which understands it. It could just model and see things that even we couldn't see in experimental design. The first drug that was designed in that way for a disease called idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, which is a lethal disease, is now in phase 2 trials. So it's the first drug that was designed by AI, right? So I think that we're going to start to see a lot more headway into these areas because we can do things now in a matter of weeks that took years before.
Why, I don't know if this is true of all cancers, but certainly in some you see reports indicating that we are, even for individuals dealing with what would be classified as terminal situations, the ability to extend far more dramatically those lives from maybe a year to 4 to 5, from 2 to 7, whatever. What does that indicate? What are we getting better at in that regard in extending those unfortunate situations?
Well, I think that's kind of where, just as we talked about, you're finding ways to kind of unlock what is the abnormal kind of interaction between cancer and your body in a way that your body can fight it more effectively, meaning you don't have to give as toxic therapies, meaning someone can live a lot longer. The other piece of this, though, is that unfortunately, cancer we most often detect at an end stage. And so like any process, it's very difficult to change once something is kind of at its end stage. So now the other area we're making headway is much earlier detection of cancer. Because to me, that's going to be really where you're going to get away in extending life, right? So there's going to be a lot of work on that in the coming years as well.
Well, people, every once in a while I'll read a story indicating that, well, there's these certain tests you can take, and they will give you there are markers or indicators that will tell you, particularly if there's a certain kind of cancer history in a family, that will kind of let you know, you're stuck, this is coming or not. How does that work? How helpful is that? And are there people, because there's a part of me, there's that old issue, I think, the human question of, well, how much do I want to know? I want to be proactive, but on the other hand, if it's inevitable, I'm not sure what I do with that information if it's true. So where are we in all that sort of research? Where is that headed?
Well, I think that's kind of, honestly, that's almost more kind of on the ethical side and the individual side, right? So you look at like Chris Hemsworth, who like dropped out of the movies for a couple of years because he had some kind of familial test for Alzheimer's, and there's so many different things. So you can have a predisposition for disease and never get it. So how much, it really depends. On the one side, it's good to know so you can be screened,
right,
and we can intervene early. On the other, if you're someone that either is not going to get screened, so why bother, or it's going to be very difficult for you to live with that uncertainty, right? Because even you could say, well, you have a 3-fold higher risk of disease X.
What does that do?
What does that really do, right? So I think that's where probably moving to more just sort of screening specifically for those cancers as opposed to the genetic predisposition, which can still be helpful for people. I think, in some diseases like breast cancer, it's good to know because you know if you need to be screened more frequently, right? Or colon cancer is another one where you know you need to be screened more frequently.
The hard part, and I assume, I'm trying to get you to tell me whether this has changed or if this is just still the reality of being treated for certain cancers. There's always the debate about, okay, we can, continue to keep you alive, but the treatment is really rough on you. And then you're back to, well, what level of quality of life are you willing to accept to be in the to literally still be alive. So is that ongoing? Are those sorts of discussions same now as they were 20 years ago that have to do with those really difficult, tragic trade-offs, trying to make these agonizing decisions about how far you go, how long you go, the whole bit? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, and it's a great question. And unfortunately, because we always talk about how much headway we've made, there's still going to be everyday people that are facing those kind of difficult decisions. And that's where it becomes really important that you have a really good relationship with whoever's making the recommendations for your therapies, because different people have different priorities. I mean, some people might say, I'd rather make sure that my next 3 or 4 months are great, or as great as they can be, and not take a toxic therapy. And others that say, I want to try and live another 2 years, and I'm willing to take that risk. And I can tell you, I mean, I've been back when I was doing more direct patient care. You see people making those choices, and they're sometimes they don't work. I mean, sometimes the treatments they can be very toxic, and so they can really rob someone of some of their ability to actually live a much more fulfilling period of life for what they have left.
At Mayo, for example, because this is not your area now, I don't know if it ever was, but I mean, how does Mayo handle, I mean, how involved the doctors get in all those sorts of discussions?
Oh, it's again, I'm not in the oncology department right now, but I mean, we have a lot of support. I think the main thing, and of course, my parents are both psychologists who dealt with cancer patients, so I went the other direction, but in terms of diagnosing it. But the reality is, no matter where you are, you have to have a lot of support because it's too much for your brain to process. So at Mayo, we have a lot of that where you give the information. Honestly, even for me, a lot of times that was me explaining to a physician what I thought was going to be, because that's really, I was the prognosticator as a pathologist to say, how did I think this was going to play out?
Right.
So there's a lot of support. You need a lot of nursing support. My wife's in the audience. There's a lot of education for the family. So there's a family need to know. She did a lot of that work. So there's a lot of that support at Mayo. And honestly, you need to go someplace that will give you that kind of support if you're in any kind of really life.
So when you hear stories, we see newspaper stories on this, online stories these days as well, all the time, where it'll tell about it's sometimes a famous person, someone sometimes not as well known, and they'll say, well, this person's diagnosis was he or she has 6 months. And 7 years later, they defeated it. And so those stories are wonderful to hear for all the human reasons, but I don't know if I always trust them or whether we have all the information. Or is it that variable, even when predictions are made or projections are made, that it can, there can be that big of a change, or I've conquered something that allegedly couldn't be conquered?
Yeah, I think for things like what I think of when I hear that kind of description is, number one, they might have been eligible for trials. They might have been earlier access to things that many people would not. And the reality is that a lot of times when someone survives and, quote, beats something or beats the odds, it's because of they were someplace that had all the other kind of support for them, right? It's not just your cancer. It's all the other kind of medical and psychological challenge that you'll have with that will help support you in that. And we learned that in COVID, right? It's like Mayo and other places where they had more support for patients had better outcomes. And if you were someplace that did not have that level of support, not that Mayo was the only place, but I think that's a lot of it. And then that makes me, that honestly, as someone in the healthcare profession, makes me feel like, well, that's something I have to work at, is that it shouldn't be that variable. It shouldn't be that you have to be a celebrity to get to some place that will give you the right level of support. So that's kind of, and as you know, in my job now,
that's your job. Yeah,
working on.
That's exactly what you're working on. And because there's also been, you'll see this story occasionally about, well, a positive attitude makes all the difference. And I sometimes have bristled at that because I've seen relatives who were not that negative and were actually pretty positive, and it just didn't matter. And so I know people, I think we always want to convey that message because it's a good message, but it's not that simple all the time, is it, medically speaking, that it's just about that, whether you approach it with a positive mental attitude?
Yeah, well, in terms of changing the outcome, it's not that simple. I mean, it is true, and anyone that's been in healthcare knows that they've been around people that have decided they don't want to fight anymore.
Right.
And then that part I've seen and experienced. I think the flip side, though, is that it still makes a difference for people when they maintain the positive attitude, and nothing for those around them as well, right? So, but there certainly isn't. There's actually studies, again, that have linked spirituality and positive outlook to different outcomes if you compare But it's not like you're going to be, well, I believe I can beat it, so I'm going
Yes.
to beat it kind of thing, right?
We are chatting with Mayo Clinic Big Knocker Bill Maurice. He's kind enough to join us at the Great Minnesota Get-Together, and now it's become kind of almost. Are you getting chilly, Guardsy? Because you got the short sleeves.
Well, it was really hot.
You do too, Knocker.
It was really hot a little while ago.
Yeah.
And now it's back to cold.
Yeah, now it's a little.
You
chilly.
never know at the State Fair.
Now the lesson the rest of this week is wear layers.
Yeah.
That you can take on and take off.
Or just bring a bunch of them and put them back here.
You could do that.
A little locker.
You could do that too.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea. They still haven't built that second level that you've dreamed of for years.
I'm still dreaming about it. Yeah, it would be so good. Lieber's on my side.
Is he?
Yeah, he saw it today, and I said it'd be perfect. Put a couch up there.
Put a couch up there.
We can all hang.
Yeah. Sadly, some people would never leave. Would Halvey ever leave?
He doesn't leave now. At least we have a comfortable place to sit.
It's a very, very good point. We'll get into some other areas with the Knocker as we continue from the State Fair right here in the Fan. The Knocker is back with us. Bill Maurice from Mayo Clinic, kind enough to join us. Looks like you're going to be on some significant. You travel a lot. You've told us that over the years many times. And maybe it's been a little quieter now, but now it's about to take off again as we hit the fall.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Heavy?
So, heavy, yep.
Worldwide or just sort of,
Yeah, worldwide. I mean,
Worldwide.
the next big trip is to China here. Next
another
month.
short jaunt.
Yep. Another quick turnaround to China. So,
And then once you're there, how long are you there? You're there for a while, though, or no? Or is there these short trips?
I think I'll be there like 4 days. So
4 days?
4 or 5 days, yeah.
So you travel, so how far? So what's the flight to China?
Now it's tougher, right? It used to be that there was more direct flights, but now the way the world is. So it's probably about 24 hours to travel there. 24 hours.
24 hours and then you're there 4 days? That doesn't seem right. Seems to me you should be able to be there for a while once you're there. Doesn't work that way.
No, because there's other stuff.
So can you let us in on what these, sorts of projects are involved?
Well, first of all, that makes your 3 weeks to Maui, just because it takes so long to get there, seem a little overkill.
A little overkill.
If the Knocker can do China
in
4 days and come back, you don't need to miss 2 sermons.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe that explains it.
We'll remember that.
Yeah.
So, this one, it's interesting. There's a lot happening right now in the world of medicine, and particularly in like diagnostic medicine, and from a business perspective in terms of what's happening geopolitically. So China is a huge market, but China's no secret is really trying to catapult themselves into a world leadership position, which means they're making it more and more difficult for outside companies to do business there. So I've spent a lot of time in China, so I think one of the things is to come there, invited to help network and help them think about ways they can continue to be relevant in that market. But it's remarkable. And then the other piece of it is, as we've talked about, is just my evolution into more of a business role. So then being invited to different sorts of investments, conferences, and things like that, which I participate in now.
Where's that country, medically speaking, let's say, compared to the United States? In terms of advancements, in terms of, is there a lot we can learn from them? Is it more that they can learn from us, or where are we?
It's probably, I'd say China is trying to get to be neck and neck with us, and it's crazy how quickly things can evolve there, and for a variety of different reasons. So when I first visited 10 years ago, I would say that the majority of the healthcare was not to the standard of the U.S., whereas now it's still very variable, but the level of care continues to advance, and I think that's something we'll really see here in the next 10 years. And they're trying to advance not just within China, but also to be much more of a global player in healthcare and healthcare innovation. I'm
looking at some of your more recent tweets. I'm wondering, what's the date today?
25th.
So this is from the 15th. It looks like scare tactics to me on your part, Knocker. Important to remember. I can't even pronounce it. You will. To remember the dangers of diseases borne by vectors such as mosquitoes, and that testing is key to confirm diagnosis. How do you pronounce CHIKUN?
Chikawangwa, I think it is.
Chikawangwa. Okay. What the hell is it, and why are you trying to scare people?
Well, it's a febrile illness transmitted by mosquitoes, right?
Okay.
You didn't even put what is it now? The screwworm is another one
Screwworm.
The screwworm.
Where's this stuff come from?
Most of it comes from like South America, just like Chikawangwa. So it's one that honestly, if you're traveling like me, it's really important to wear like bug spray, because these things are transmitted by bugs, including the screwworm, which it's a fly that that puts a larva.
Screwworm.
Yes.
Oh, that sounds
Very
disgusting.
technical.
Yeah.
Very technical.
Hey, I didn't come up with it.
What do we call it, Bob? Screwworm.
Yeah, screwworm. Yeah, because if you get it, no. So yeah, it's these things that really are to avoid bug bites if you're traveling internationally is actually really important because there's a lot of diseases that are difficult to treat that you can catch from mosquitoes and other vectors, which are bugs that bite.
What is Unisom?
Unisom.
Am I pronouncing that right? An AI tool that you talk about that Mayo Clinic researchers are developing?
Oh, yeah.
That helps develop. It identifies blood condition linked to higher risks of heart disease and leukemia.
Yep. Yeah.
What's this all about?
Well, this is something, and there was just another article about this with bird flu, avian flu.
Okay.
What you're seeing is that there are patterns, and this really kind of is the promise that was promised from the electronic health record all the way back to Obama, right? If we put everything into electronic environment, we can start to do things with health that we haven't done before. And so that's one that actually can look for things that your doctor might miss because it can see so much in your health record and compare you to other people to say that you actually are showing some symptoms or some signs that you might have like a pre-malignant or precancerous blood condition, and now this is a tool that can just flag that for a doctor. So your doctor doesn't have to be some kind of genius. All of a sudden, these flags will pop up. Same for like bird flu. Same for these things. Interestingly, though, the flip side of this is people are raising questions around privacy, right? And that did you agree when you went in? Are you comfortable with some AI agent going into your health record and nosing around for stuff and seeing how you compare to other people? But those are the tools that we're going to see built in. I do think it'll be helpful because I think the real challenge in healthcare, like anyone that's gone to see a doctor, they just don't have that much time. So it becomes easier to miss things. So I think we're going to see. That's one that we're working on. Another one is looking at MRIs of the brain to identify dementia and stuff like that. So that's those are the things I think that'll make a big impact eventually. Remind
our listening audience and viewing today who Parasite Gal is, and update us on what she has been up to, what you guys have been up to together via, I think you guys do podcasts, you do all sorts of things.
Parasite Gal is Dr. Bobby Pritt. She is another pathologist at Mayo that I work with, one of my colleagues. She calls herself that because she's an expert in these vector-borne diseases, right?
That we're just talking about?
So she's been very active with that. We do her big thing, and we've talked about this before, but with global warming, we're seeing some of these diseases spread into the northern hemisphere that we just haven't seen before. And actually, screwworm is one of those, and they come back, and that's actually going to be devastating for livestock. So we're seeing more and more of this. So I think she's spending a lot of time thinking about, again, she's the one with prevention, but thinking about what kind of bugs are starting to spread into warmer climates that are warming, and what diseases are they bringing with them. I think that's kind of her big, and then how do we detect them? So, because you can say, well, we're a lab in Minnesota. Why do we need to be able to detect, some kind of tropical disease? Well, the reality is there are more and more of these diseases that are becoming something we have to be worried about.
Can you, without this becoming immediately political, and I guess everything is political at this point, unfortunately, can you help me better understand the alleged, the aversion, it appears, that Bobby Kennedy Jr. has to is it called the mRNA forms of vaccines? What's the issue here? Because I keep reading from a lot of other doctors saying in a number of areas this is going to be a big mistake that's going to hurt our ability to deal with lots of other conditions that have nothing to do with any kind of COVID, the COVID shot, COVID vaccine.
Yeah, so the background on that, the RNA, it's a different way to develop a vaccine, which is much more rapid because you use a substance called RNA as opposed to protein. It's something that had been worked on for actually going back to the George W. Bush administration with one of the avian flu or swine flu scares. That would be a way to rapidly develop a vaccine. And so that's been in the works for some time. Of course, we really had not introduced them clinically until we were under the pressure of COVID. And so they were introduced at a time, in an unprecedented way. And unfortunately, that eroded some people's trust in that technology. And so now that's the concern and I think the current administration is really, some of their policies reflect some of that. And at the same point in time, though, that's the same technology one might use to introduce some of these sorts of pathway-altering drugs for cancer, for instance, right? So that's the debate here. That's the concern. The concern is the right balance between safety and innovation. And honestly, the biggest concern that I have is this erosion of trust, right? We have to have some level of trust in our policymakers, in our healthcare institutions, that we can, because we're going to have to be there. There is an element of experimentation in healthcare, right? And so how do we do that in a way that's safe, that's transparent?
Well, some of that being honest about what you just said, that there is some experimentation in it?
Yeah, I think you have to be, right? I think that's you and I talked about. I mean, look, there was some experimentation. I don't think you can argue there was some experimentation to how the COVID vaccine was rolled out because we had never faced a global pandemic with a new technology. So I think that lack of transparency is what then leads to the erosion of trust.
Yeah.
So
well, in our final minutes here today, so are you here for the night? Or are you guys going to bail, No,
I'm going to go over. I think I'm going to go over and get myself a donut beer, some stuff like that.
Really?
Donut beer? Oh, yeah. Yeah, my son's a big fan of that.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
How about any other like culinary delights you want to try before you leave?
Probably the corn on the cob. I know it's radio, but I still don't want corn stuck on my teeth.
Yeah.
Particularly now that my dentition's been something of a topic.
Your teeth look. I mean, look at that. They look like. It looks perfect now. Everything going okay on that?
Everything goes okay, except for I still have a little bit of a gap between my upper teeth and my lower teeth, and so I can't, if I eat corn on the cob, it can be problematic. I'll just leave it at that. Or a sandwich sometimes you can't get through the tomato. Yes,
you just got to pick and choose carefully what you eat.
That's right. There's some entertainment value.
But you're back on the bike.
Oh yeah,
there's no sort of like aversion to it because of the accident. You're way past any psychological issues with that?
So basically, am I smart enough to not do something that almost coming? No, I'm not. I actually continue to do it. This year, I'm up to 3,000 miles already.
3,000 miles?
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, do you bring your bike to China with you?
No. Oh. I did purchase a bike in Italy and did some cycling.
Did you really?
Yes. The same bike that I crashed, the same brand of bike that I crashed. That was sort of I went over and I bought a new one.
Where in Italy were you?
I was outside of Milan in a city called.
So are you doing hills, mountains? You doing everything? Is this big time rugged?
Yeah, I did
mountain biking.
It was in the mountains, but it was on the road. So yeah, my big day. My son Will was with me, I did 7,000 feet of climbing.
7,000 feet?
Yeah, my on
the bike.
On the bike, yeah.
Wow, that's pretty good.
That was fun.
Did you do that? 7,000 feet of climbing on a bike?
No.
I don't think I
maybe
could.
3,000.
Yeah.
And then it's just showing off after 3,000 or 4,000, isn't it?
Yeah.
Was that all downhill though? Did you go up in a truck with the bike and then you came downhill in it? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly right. Yeah, no, but the funny part is, so I went up and it was fun, but I rode up and it wasn't electric or anything. But then I was using GPS and I'm going down and for 30 minutes I thought, crap, if I miss a turn, I'm not going back up. I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm not. And if I get a flat tire, I don't know what I'm going to do either. So,
were there a lot of other cyclists around you?
Yes. There were some, right?
So are you dodging vehicles too?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm guessing, do they get along there? How does that, is it ugly? Is it kamikaze-like?
Well, luckily I don't know how to curse in Italian. So, no, actually it's different. it's a big part of the culture there, right?
Yeah,
so that was part of the fun of it for me, right? Because there's many people that are way too old to wear a Lycra that are still out there wearing Lycra.
Yeah, that's okay.
So,
that's okay.
I was one of them. I was one of us.
You don't have to apologize for it.
No, I'm not going to.
So, trips coming soon, you said.
Yep.
Lastly, how about your as well, Hoosiers? Is it going to be like reality setting in from the football team this season, coming back to earth, or do you see them actually making good on what they seemed to establish last year?
Well, I don't think it'll be as good as last year, but I don't think it'll be the usual IU football either. People seem to really be a believer in this Mendoza. I think it is that they signed a quarterback. They had the NIL money. So I think they'll be good. I don't think they'll be great. I think Signetti is a real deal.
Did you get back to a game last year? I don't remember.
I did not.
I didn't either. Yeah.
I'd love to. And then I think the Vikings are going to be the other.
You think they're solid?
I think so.
You're on the McCarthy bandwagon?
I am, yes, but I'm even more so on the Flores bandwagon. I think people forget. I think that defense is going to really be.
Well, that would help. That would take a lot of the pressure off if they could become even better than they were a year ago.
Exactly.
But then they got some pieces. So I'm still a little worried about the corners.
I am too. The corners on the defense.
What they're counting on is that the rush is going to be so good that it won't matter. But it doesn't always work that way. You still have to have people who can cover in this league.
And like Chip was saying too, they're really counting on a lot in the pass rush, and they're relying on a couple of older players who have been injured to help with that. So we'll see.
Thanks for coming to see us, as always. Safe travels. We'll try to stay in touch. We're working on trying to be a little bit more diligent and not, have these 6-month gaps.
Yeah.
Which there haven't been lately. We've
Not
had
really.
A little bit more. So
Came in studio a little while ago.
That's true. Yeah, that worked out very, very well.
Did you relay the fair messages to him already?
I did. I should.
Yeah.
I have before, but it is worth noting that, sort of unsolicited, a number of people before you came on said, make sure you thank the knocker, not just for coming on, but thank the knocker for the months and months he spent during COVID talking to us and being rational and being sensible. Meant a lot to people. I never stopped hearing that, and it obviously meant a lot to the show as well. So that's good. I think that's good for you to be reminded of every once in a while, even though that's now a long time ago.
5:30 on Thursday.
It's interesting that people have not forgotten, and they make a point of telling us how important that was to them.
Well, thank you for that. And it's been a real pleasure for me to have the opportunity to kind of give back. As you know, the state kind of forged my adulthood in this state.
Yep,
so to be able to help out, I was happy to do it. So,
well, like we said, your contributions to us and just your relationship with us it never goes for granted, my friend. I appreciate it.
For me either. So thank you guys.
That's the knocker, Bill Maurice, kind enough to join us at the Great Minnesota Get Together. Let's get a break in, top of the hour, and I don't know where we'll go next. Stay tuned.
Join us out at the Minnesota State Fair through Labor Day for your favorite KFAN shows. Chances to win prizes and stock up on our new KFAN swag. You can come find us in Carousel Park at the KFAN booth, and it's powered by Culligan. You can stop by the Culligan Hydration Station at the Minnesota State Fair on the corner of Dan Patch and Cosgrove. Fill up your water bottle for free with cool Culligan water. Cold, cool Culligan water. Culligan, water you love.
I think is it Zombies Night tonight in the grandstand?
I thought it was Happy Together.
Happy Together. The Turtles. That's what it is. The Turtles. Happy Together. And then I think the Cowsills, that's another group from way a long time ago. Who was just by here saying they were going to go tonight? And I said, do we have any idea in any of these? It's one of those deals where it's like 6 groups.
Yeah, the Turtles, Jay and the Americans, Little Anthony, Gary Puckett in the Union Gap, the Vogues, and the Cowsills.
Yes. Yeah. The question is, so how many groups is that?
Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So let's say with 6 groups, how many total of the 6 are there? 3 original members at best? Probably true. That's the issue. That's what makes it tough.
Yep.
Because time marches on.
It does.
As much
undefeated.
as the knockers trying to keep everybody alive with quality of life forever.
Yep.
It doesn't work that way. So that's always the challenge. Oh, yeah, I want to go see the Turtles. I want to see.
Right.
I know some of the Jay and the Americans. Are you kidding me? But is Jay around? Are the Americans still around?
Right.
Is it second generation Americans, whatever they are, third, whatever the case may be?
Why don't you text John Bream? He would know the answer to all of this.
Bream actually would know. Bream might be reviewing it.
He could be.
It's possible that he is reviewing it as well. If we had a top 5 at 5, what
Brought
would
to you
have
by
been
Gutter Helmet of Minnesota.
Exactly. What would have been in it? I guess, by the way, Twins did not let me down. They did lose the rubber game of the series to the White Sox. Another one of our young pitchers that we acquired just got obliterated, and we lost 2 out of 3 to the White Sox. I don't even know where we're playing or who we're playing next.
Yeah, I don't know what would be in it because I honestly didn't really do a deep dive on it.
I guess it would be just a follow on the Carson Wentz news.
That's what it would be.
Is there any new steam at the wide receiver position? Any other names coming up besides Thielen?
No, only that we continue to negotiate with Carolina.
We are negotiating.
It sounds like it. That's what people say. We're continuing to call.
It's ongoing.
And like I said on Friday on Enough Said, and like you've said it multiple times, I still don't understand the motivation why Carolina has to feel like they need to help us out and what their inspiration would be for trading.
Maybe they have a bevy.
They could.
Of young receivers. They say, well, we might as well throw them out there. Who are we kidding? We're not going to the Super Bowl this year.
That would be the only logical thing. Now, how sick this all is, now that it's out that they've been pursuing it, it's one of those things where if it doesn't happen, people are going to be annoyed.
They will be.
But then if the next guy isn't very good, whoever they actually acquire isn't very good or doesn't play as well, we're always going to compare him to
To Thielen.
And not even 2025 Adam Thielen, 2017 Adam Thielen.
In his prime?
When he's with Stephon Diggs and he's 1,500 yards and celebrating at Wembley Stadium by doing a soccer slide. Like, that's the Thielen we're all going to compare him to. So it's going to be really unfair for the next guy if it isn't Adam Thielen.
I wonder if there's the cut downs are starting right now, correct?
Yeah.
They're not the last ones haven't been done yet, I don't think.
Right.
But I wonder at the cornerback position, too. Usually these teams have lists, right?
Yes,
they go, okay, if so-and-so gets cut, we'd have to take a look at him. We'd have to kick the tires on him. And in the case of Wentz, they didn't have to wait, right? Because Wentz was not under contract.
He was just hanging out.
And now he's your backup quarterback. Now, are you convinced that the Vikings are so high on your guy that they will not even run the risk that he gets picked up by trying to move him to the practice squad?
Oh, I think that's a wrap. There's no way he's on the practice squad.
That's a roster spot.
I know.
I mean,
but I thought most teams kept 3. Am I wrong on that?
Well, I don't think they do. Some do, some don't.
Some do, some don't.
Yeah.
I think it's for everything that they just did. To me, that shows that they're keeping a roster spot.
How unhappy would Guardsy be if they take the chance and he ends up getting picked up by the Bears or somebody? Oh, you'd lose your mind.
I would.
You would not get over it for months.
Well, especially
he's not going to play this year.
But we don't know that. Maybe he goes to a place and there's an injury and he plays, and we don't know. I wouldn't lose my mind because despite all my hyperbole about him, I'm not saying he should start over J.J. McCarthy.
Oh, that's big of you.
Just yet.
Yeah, that's the key.
But if he struggles for a month, that's the other thing.
Let me ask you this. Will there be some investors in Carson condos? I mean, that's what's interesting to me. The interesting question is, if McCarthy lays an egg in Chicago, let's just say he throws, I don't know, he completes like 9 out of 26 for 1 touchdown and 2 picks, and they lose. And then the next week, is that Atlanta? Is that the home game against Atlanta? I can't remember.
There's a Cincinnati in there as well.
Whatever it is, let's just say he struggles the first 2 weeks. There'll be people, Carson Condo's people, saying, you know what? He's got experience.
Yep.
Maybe the kid's not ready. Because I did throw out the question. This was before the Wentz announcement took place.
Atlanta is the home opener Sunday Night Football.
Atlanta, okay. Yeah, they're back-to-back night games, right? So I threw this out yesterday before we made the Wentz move that part of I assume the calculus for the Vikings had to be, well, we think McCarthy's ready.
Yep.
But we're never going to know until we know. And what if he starts the season and we go, whoa, we haven't given up on him, but man, he's going to need more seasoning. So that's the question to me about always what you want your backup to be. Do you want your backup to be a guy that you say, well, if it's the worst case scenario, we might still have a chance if we are forced for an extended period of time, maybe a month, maybe 5 games, maybe 6 games of turning the ball over to this other quarterback, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of, I think, now maybe that's too negative, and maybe the quarterback whisper says, no, Dan.
He's going to stay.
I know the position.
Yeah.
McCarthy, he may not be great from the moment the season starts, but he's not going to be a bust to the degree we have to worry about that. But because Wentz is a name,
you're
going to hear people, if they struggle first 2 weeks, saying, you know what? I think you got to throw Wentz out there. At least he's got a little experience. The kid's overwhelmed. He needs to relax.
Yeah.
He needs to sit for a while.
They won't do that, but I think if JJ gets hurt and Wentz isn't very good, there will be Brosmer Brownstone people coming out. There will be. You know that.
No,
because we already know what
there
Wentz
would be
is.
if he was the backup.
Yeah.
There's no question.
There would
That's
be.
Very true.
And by the way, it's not Carson Condos. Someone sent this the other day.
Winnebagos?
Winnebagos. It's perfect because he's always on the move.
Yeah, that's true.
He doesn't stay anywhere permanently. He's a seasonal guy.
He is.
He's goes south in the winter and comes back up north for the summer. He's Wentz Winnebago. It's perfect.
He's been with different teams.
6 teams in 6 years.
6 years. Yeah, after, obviously, he was the number 2 overall pick, I think.
Yeah.
I believe he was number 2 overall. And the Eagles obviously had every reason to feel quite good about him.
They did.
Super Bowl year, I mean, he was MVP-like.
He was.
And then he gets hurt. And somebody had to play the position, and it was Foles. And then Foles didn't last, and the Bears tried to steal Foles. He was awful. I don't even think he cared.
Yeah.
When he's with the Bears, and Wentz has just not been able to find. And I think he's 32. By the way, I don't even know physically. Is he back completely physically? I mean, I don't even know.
Given that he was with he's been with teams.
Yeah.
Granted, we haven't had to see him. I think everything's fine. How about this that I tried out on Krager's yesterday? Craig Kilborn. It was his birthday yesterday, by the way.
Oh, okay.
So I texted him happy birthday, and then we text and talk more than people know, more during the Wolves season. But he just, in Krager's fashion, just in all caps with an exclamation point, typed Brosmer, because he obviously knows how much I like the guy. So my line that I tried out on him was, typically KOC is the one whispering to the quarterbacks. Brosmer has been whispering to KOC.
Oh my God.
And that's why they did all of this.
You think that's
Well, that's why, I mean, look at what they did. They gassed the whole room except for him and brought in another guy.
Yeah, to be the third string quarterback.
For now.
Well, yeah.
We'll see.
Maybe we should trade. Think we can get a 1 for him?
JJ?
No.
Or Wentz? Or Brosmer?
Think we can get a 1 for Brosmer?
Maybe
You wouldn't trade him for a 1.
No,
that's the scary part.
I want to see what we got in him.
Yeah, well, you may.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to have a chance to this year, but who's to say? All right, let's wrap up, remind you what you missed today and what we have coming up from the fair tomorrow on what, for me, continues to be. I know there are some people bitter that it's too fall-like.
Yeah.
And I'm saying those people are idiots. I'm official. I'm calling them out. They just are. It's like, because what they say is, well, it just shows you that we're that much closer to what's coming. Not necessarily.
No.
It's August, for
This is
God's
first
sake.
fall, people
just
call it.
enjoy.
Yeah.
The idea that we are obligated to bake every state fair is moronic. There's no rule that says that.
We don't even know if this fan works.
No,
we haven't had to use it one time in
It's unbelievable.
2025.
So we'll give you the guest lineup for tomorrow and remind you who you missed earlier today when we wrap up.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
Blakemore, can you hit the breaking news sounder?
Yes.
I can find it
It's not ready for that.
sometime soon. I probably should have told you. Breaking news. Have you heard about this one?
I don't know.
Donald J. Trump
Oh, boy.
is expected to sign an executive order to eliminate the First Amendment. First Amendment.
Did you vet that?
I didn't vet it. It's made up,
Oh,
but it's
good.
to make a larger
Yeah.
point. He's in a mode where he just, you know what? I just signed an executive order.
Yeah.
He has signed more than I think all the presidents put together at this point. So the latest one expected, satirically speaking, is, that First Amendment thing. It gets in the way sometimes. I'm going to ban it. I'm going to get rid of it. Not going to matter. Not going to work, as we like to say in the business. That's as political as I'll get here at the Great Minnesota Get Together at the risk of having to, run from a shark or a jet.
I still miss when Rosenbaum got flipped off up on Machinery Hill. Remember when we were doing the K-Talk shows up there and that guy came right up to the glass? We were in like a fishbowl. This is kind of a fishbowl, but at least the air comes in. We were in like
that was like too sanitized.
Yeah.
There's glass there.
That enclosed case, and the guy came up, gave Rosenbaum the middle finger, and Ron, God bless him, just gave it right back.
So were those K-Talk days?
Yeah.
Yeah, those.
We had to have been doing our Saturday show.
Yeah, that must have been it, the old Saturday show.
Saturday shows for a few years.
I forgot we even did that.
Yeah.
We did for a long time. Well, I don't know how long it was. A
couple
year?
of years.
Two couple years?
Yeah. The show to be named later is what we called it.
That is,
if you recall.
You're right. That is exactly what we called it. I want to thank our outstanding bevy of guests on location today. Dawn Plitzowite, the Golden Gopher women's basketball coach, joined at 4. And 3:15, Chip Scoggins. And, of course, the Knocker, who just joined between 5 and 6 o'clock as well. Tomorrow, by the way, is anything live coming up from here after?
No, I think it's just us.
Just us tonight.
Yeah, Fan on Demand, and then today's Monday, right?
Today is Monday.
Yeah, Dan Patrick, Fan
So
on Demand.
tomorrow here on location, give us the list again.
Tim Cheetah will be coming down from Giggles Campfire Grill, where he basically runs the place, and will spend his usual hour with you talking ball and telling stories. Former Major League Baseball umpire.
Is he a poleat apologist? I don't remember.
We'll find out.
I think I'm going to ask him tomorrow.
I ran into him at the Randy Shaver golf tournament in June.
Okay.
And the first time I was going to approach him, he was about to take a picture with, I think, Paul Molitor,
Ooh.
Tony Oliva, Joe Mauer, I think Dick Bremer was in there as well.
Oh, sorry, the picture got ruined.
I didn't even want to say it. Leave Dick out of this.
I'm sorry.
But I brought him up. There was like 5 Hall of Famers in Cheatham. I'm like, I'm not going to go say hi now. I'm going to let him get
That's
the
a tough
picture.
spot,
Yeah, so I ended up seeing him on the course, which was good. But yeah, he texted me over the weekend and gave me his availability, and I said Tuesday 3:30.
Is that our only guest?
No, Louis coming tomorrow.
Oh, Louis tomorrow too. Yeah,
Lou Nanny's tomorrow at 4:30. Zeev Buyam is coming with him, so we're going to do I think 10 or 15 with Zeev and Louis.
Okay,
and then Louis got another 20 or 30 to hang with us.
And we vetted it. It is Zeev Buyam.
We'll find out tomorrow.
And then if there's a variation on that, we'll find. Because Rossi's changed it like 9 times.
Yeah, I know.
It went from Rossi to Rossi.
To Rossi.
And now like he was Spanish. And then now it's back to Rossi, right?
I know. It's not right.
I'll ask Garen about it. I'll ask him to pronounce it.
Yeah.
See how that goes. The question on Garen is, can he pronounce Kaprizov?
Right.
That's the question.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I know.
That's what we're all waiting to find out. Maybe he'll break the story with us.
Well, that's what I'm kind of hoping for.
What's up, Z?
So that's what's going on.
You know what happens to retired sports writers? They just wander around the great Minnesota Get. They got nothing else to do.
They're looking for a story.
That's all they have.
He's looking for a story.
That's exactly it.
What he's looking for.
What else did I want to mention before we go? Oh,
in terms of later on in the week?
Well, no, I wouldn't call this a correction, but for the record, I do want to mention this.
Oh, the Northwestern State thing?
Yeah, so we're talking about Northwestern State. The team the Gophers play the second week. It's a terrible football program. They shouldn't be playing Northwestern State, but they are. And they lost basically 2 straight years without winning a game. And then the year before that, they had some games forfeited. And we were trying to figure out what that was, if there was a scandal. Well, it was actually worse than a scandal. They forfeited the games because of tragedy. One of their players apparently was shot and killed. So that's the kind of this program has been dealing, obviously, with a lot of issues. This is a school that's based in Louisiana, correct? Northwestern State.
That's what you told me.
I don't know the city, but it is in Louisiana. So that's apparently why they had, I think it was either 4 or 5 forfeits that season. Do they have a new coach, by the way? Do we know? Are they like...
I've been focused on the Buffalo championship season. I'll move on to
where we're 0-0.
Yes, I'll move on to... Yeah. And I did a lot of work on Buffalo, so I'm ready for all the previews that you need tomorrow.
I figured you did.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for those who stopped by to see us today on a beautiful day. More good weather is scheduled, I think, for the rest of the fair. We may be seeing some record-breaking crowds. Back tomorrow, right from this location, beginning at 3 o'clock right here in the Fan.
But you know what? It's frustrating.